My name is Shawn Cunningham, here with my brother Kyle. We're doing our third podcast. We did the first two. We took a week off because Kyle was too tired, I guess. I don't know. We needed a break, a rest.
Yeah. I think I still need one, but yeah.
So how do you think the podcast is going? How do you think we're doing? You have some opinion about something?
Well, I think you could be better prepared. Otherwise, I think we're doing fine.
I'm prepared. Ask me any question right now. Let's go.
I think we're doing well. I think we have a lot going on, to say the least. Sort of a cascade of fun things to do, and it's a busy time.
What are you working on?
We'll manage. We don't have enough time to all the work.
Actually, we do. According to the timer, we got plenty of time, apparently.
There's a real estate business. We've got listings to sell, buyers to help. Then there is my coffee business. We're opening another location next week, the coffee class, and that's 16 hours a day of all-consuming things to do. Spending a lot of time with the city and the city and the state, and figuring out all the regulatory issues. And let me tell you, when you're opening a business as a small business owner, it is an eye-opening experience. And I've done it before, and still it's amazing. You almost need a team of people, lawyers, CPAs, contractors, and then you still have to do most of the work. So it's a thrilling experience. Putting a team together, hiring leadership, going through regulatory issues. It's fun. But yeah, it's definitely not a lot of sleep.
Sounds thrilling. Yeah, that's what I use.
Yeah, thrilling.
So where's the new location at?
It's going to be.
Come by and enjoy the.
It's right by. So we have an Airbnb over by College and Horizon. So it's right down. It's literally walking distance to that Airbnb. So that area is really kind of cool because, to me, it's under-tapped. Like if you live in that East Henderson area, there's Las Vegas out there. There's Cadence. There's what's that neighborhood? It'll come to me. Tuscany's out there. You got Boulder City. You don't have a lot of things really to choose from food-wise. Vegas is very strange that way. We don't have we have a strong food culture, which we should talk about sometime, but we don't have a strong food culture everywhere. Like if you eat, there's a Strip, there's Chinatown, and then there's Summerlin, and that's it. Like there's Southwest, which you would think has a good food culture, but really there's not much out there either. There will be, our third location, but there's not really. So people out there, you're suffering. You go on Uber Eats app and see what there is to eat. You got McDonald's, you got Taco Bell, you got Jack in the Box. So we're going to be a big boost to that area, I think, and not just us. Water Street District, downtown Henderson's coming along. Sean's always a big fan of that. You got a lot of things being built out there that I think are really going to help that area and give people some local things to do.
Nice. I look forward to opening. Over 2 weeks.
Next week, yeah.
Next week?
Mm-hmm. Next
Oh,
Sunday.
I thought it was 31st?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It's symbolic because that's the 3-year anniversary of the first location opening to the date.
3 years, jeez.
Mm-hmm. Hard to believe.
It is hard to believe because that whole pandemic time warp thing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so it's been a busy week to say the least.
You talk about things that way too, pre-pandemic. That's why I'll ask somebody, have I seen you? Now it's like, have I seen you pre or post-pandemic? Because I don't really remember.
Yeah.
It seems like a whole different lifetime.
It does, yeah. Seems like it's 10 years ago. It's only been, 2.5 basically, yeah.
I wonder what other people are doing that. It's not just us. That line of demarcation.
Yeah, you have to. Different world. So, especially my out-of-state friends, out-of-country friends, yeah. And then real estate, of course, is completely pre-pandemic and during the pandemic, and now we're in the whatever the phase right now of real estate. I guess it's post-pandemic real estate now, where people are.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but it's definitely the market change. I think I still think rapid. I'm not saying it's a shock, but I would say it's shocking how fast it switched. It was like the first interest rate hike. I thought it started to slow to me early this year, but the slowing then to the trickle, that was very fast.
It was probably April. It was April, May, it started slow, and then June, I think people really noticed it. Yeah.
It turned the faucet off. We argued in the first podcast whether it's a buyer or seller's market. Sean says still sellers or neutral. I actually think it's a buyer's market. I think it's very close to one at this point. Or if it's not there, it will be pretty soon.
It's not a buyer's market, but it's not a buyer's market. Is in Vegas, people like yourself, we tend to think of buyer's market as any time you have to work to sell a house. It's a buyer's market. That's not a buyer's market. Buyer's market is a house is set for 6 months. Like in Indiana or somewhere. That's a buyer's market.
Yeah.
But for all intents and purposes, for Vegas,
we don't really know if that's true.
by relative Vegas standards, you would definitely say it's more in the buyer favor. However, our buyers are not able. You can't just make an offer, any offer you want, and get a house kind of a thing. I mean, people
you can't even do that in the buyer's market.
Yeah, there's a balance to it all because there's still not a lot of inventory. But it's definitely a lot easier for buyers to buy. I just sold a new home to a buyer last week. The new builder dropped the price $30,000, and we got incentives, which were pretty much gone for a long time. I mean, other than a few. I remember we were running an offer on a house. It was like the house was $700,000. We offered him $625,000, and the agent's like, "Oh, it's horrible offer," and everything. I was like, "Why don't you just present the offer and let the seller decide?" Anyway, presented the offer. Seller came down $675,000, and they say, "Won't go a penny lower than that. He'd rather just keep the house." And my buyer said, "Okay, we'll just move on to something else." And like 2 weeks later, he calls me and says, "Oh, your buyer's still interested?" And I was like, too late. We bought something else. And honestly, they should have put that deal together. It's just there's some agents out there, especially listing agents, where they've never been in a market like this. If you've been a lot of people have been in real estate 2 years. Honestly, they've never had a market where you had to actually work to sell a house, and they don't know how to explain to a client the market you're in to understand that it's okay to negotiate if you need to sell your house because you're still doing even if they taken the offer that we offered, it still would have been a record price for that house. It's not like they were taking some sort of massive price drop. We're programs that we have to get like 20% more every year. You don't just get a price that works for you, and if you need to sell your house, if you don't need to sell your house, then don't sell it. Just hold it.
I'm glad you brought that up because I think inside baseball a little bit, but also affects clients. I think when the market shifted during the pandemic and you had a hot market, you can tell the agents that you're working with who have worked in different markets by the way they treat you, the way they talk to you. You can be high on your horse as a listing agent when the market's booming. Then when it flips the switch on you, and now you need the agents, your reputation matters. You don't get back to people. You don't return their calls. You don't even bother to acknowledge the offer. You don't even respond to it. That behavior is what you do when you have that luxury. Now the market's slow. Now you need these relationships. You need to be able to reach out to people. Yeah. And so builders, to me, are notorious for this because some builders throughout the pandemic still valued realtors because they knew they need us to be involved in the process. And so our commissions were good. What they were doing to treating us pretty well. And then other builders are like just the worst, just drop everything. Yeah. And then immediately when the market shifted, they come back to us. But you can't just burn bridges and then rebuild them in a second. It's short-term thinking.
There were builders who were paying us nothing, basically. It was like nothing. It's like you do all this work for a client and the builder says, well, we're not going to pay you anything because we don't think we need you. And now they're all like calling me up, and because in new construction, there is no MLS for new construction. It requires a lot of market knowledge, and so I have clients right now looking at new construction. That's what's changed too, by the way. Like new construction is hot right now because there's so many fallouts. So builders have so many people have had to cancel because they can't qualify or they're jittery, and so it's a lot of new homes that you can buy right now, and the builders are offering incentives and all kinds of stuff. But there's no database of new homes. I mean, you can Google search it, but good luck with that. So it's in my head. Yeah, it's in my head, it's in your head. And so when my client calls and says, I want this, and this, I pick up the phone, call this, and this person, this builder. We go out and check lots for them. And now the builders are, they're all over. They want to make a deal, and it's a good time to buy new construction if you're especially if you get one that's like the one we just sold. It will close in September. You can get a lot of deals off of it. But yeah, the builders will change their attitude dramatically towards working with us. And because when there's more to choose from, you need an agent more, right? Because you need to filter things down because there's so much to choose from. In new construction there is anyway. So yeah, it's been an interesting time.
I think new construction, I have a client who texted me the other day. He says, oh, I've been in escrow for 3 months, but we're going to close next month. The builder just gave us $20,000 price, or just because. I've never heard that before. I
have. It happened in 2008 before your time.
Yeah, so that's
2007. Excuse me.
Yeah, that's not a good sign though. But like, oh, this gave us that they're so worried you're gonna just fall out because of the prices. But really, the thing is, I'm so mixed bag about this because you can make the case that they're kind of gouging in the first place. The prices they had originally were too high.
Oh, yeah.
So like $20,000 probably closer to the realistic price anyway. It's not like they were giving you a discount of some.
The market's not really. The market's normalizing.
It's correcting.
Yeah, I would say normalize. I like the word normalizing better. It's normalizing, but normalizing is harsh for some people to accept. But it's normalizing. It should never been. It went a little bit too overboard, and now it's normalizing. But it doesn't mean it's going to tank. That's the difference. If the market drops 10% from where it was in May, I think it probably will. So it'll be back to where it was in January, basically. I mean, like it's not like it's going backwards to 2015 or something like that. But getting from here to there will be a challenge for a lot of people for sure.
Year over year should be pretty close to even. I think when you look at 2022 versus 2021, it'll be reasonable. The end of 2022 should be about even with the end of 2021 is where I think we're going to finish up at, which, is for a lot of people scary, but really it's not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. And once we correct, I have a strong feeling we're going to have a fourth quarter resurgence again. And I think if you listen to people who are a lot smarter than I am, they would tell you that it's a great time to buy because interest rates, yes, they're higher, but like we just said, buyers can go and get deals now. You can always refinance your house later and get a lower interest rate. That's easy. Well, not easy. Let me back up. You have the option to do that based on your situation. But right now, you can buy a home.
But you really don't have to do that. I mean, there are builders out there that are guaranteeing. I just did one of the builders guaranteeing 4.9% interest rate, and even on extended rate lock too. Like if you want to buy a house right now, you don't have to pay a 5.5% interest rate. Actually, what you can do is get the seller to give you a concession and just buy it on the rate. That's what I would do. If you're gonna keep the house for 30 years anyway, maybe 3%, get 3 points from the seller and just buy it on the rate. And you can ask us more about that if you want to. But when the market's like this, you actually can overcome those types of issues because rates aren't double digits. I mean, the rates are mid fives. They actually came down a little bit because of the fears of recession. Recession actually helps interest rates. So there's a fear of recession, so interest rates will come down a little bit, and you'll see rates like in mid fives right now. They kind of almost hit 6 at one point about a month ago, but I think you hit like a mid fives, so you can buy it down to the mid fours.
Yeah, my point is that I feel like in my short life that overreacting is. Overreacting is rampant. And when you look at our current situation, interest rates in itself will scare buyers off. But buyers, you need to be buying. Like, this is the time to do it. Why would you wait until you have multiple? When the market's booming, people want to jump on the market. Then you're doing multiple offer scenarios. Now that's all gone. You can actually buy a home, but then buyers are scared, so they don't buy. It's psychologically silly. You buy when nobody else is buying. Or people want to sell you something and just get a good deal. Not when everybody's trying to buy and get in a rush. I get it. It's a weird cognitive dissonance, I guess. But
I had a client that's like, she stopped buying a year ago. She's like, well, it's too hard to buy, too many multiple offer situations, too tough. I want to wait until the market's better for buyers. And now the market's better for buyers. It's like, oh, maybe the market's declining. Like, this is what I'm saying. You can't time the market. Like, there's no timing.
You want to buy or you don't.
Yeah,
we say that. I think every podcast has said that. But yeah.
You buy when you want to buy. Because frankly, if you bought a year ago, you'd be better off across the board than you would have been today because rates were half what they are now. So, or not half, but they were substantially lower. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't just buy when you want to buy. I don't. If you want to buy, buy. I have no concern. I just bought a house. I have no concern. I believe prices will be 10% lower than they were in May by the time we get to the end of the year probably. And they've already dropped off. So you'll see. So the key is just to make sure you get a good deal on it. So my client, the deal we didn't put together, I told him, make a lower offer, and not, a respectful offer, make a lower offer. And by the way, I think we made the right offer. We came in $70,000 below, and he would have paid. We could have met at $40,000 below, let's say, which the seller was going. By the way, they're going to get that price eventually. It may take them 2 months. But that's what I guarantee you they'll get that price. And so the key is just to make sure that you're not overpaying for a house right now. There's no reason to do so. Get incentives, buy it on your rate, and then buy a house. And be happy.
Don't be. I guess my point is also just don't be. Don't operate from a place of fear. Yeah. Gas prices have dropped 10% or so already in the last month, something like that. They're steadily dropping. Interest rates, I think, have peaked, and now they're stabilizing. I think unemployment, by the way, right now is still near historic lows. And so the fundamentals actually are still good. Yeah, we might be in a recession. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad economy. I think we have to be, it could flip back again. Maybe not like it was, but something stronger in a month or weeks even. And so don't wait around to see what's going to happen. Just buy when you're ready to buy. I think the fourth quarter will be fine. I don't think it's going to be a blockbuster, but I think it'll be all right.
All right.
Prices will be under control, hopefully. Speaking of short-term thinking, I was thinking about, it made me think of builders and realtors who are not prepared for this marketplace, people who are not used to having to advise their clients about price reductions and don't even know how to stay in touch. We should just put a house on the market and sell in 3 days. Now it's explaining, it's going to take a month, it's going to take 2 months, having those hard conversations.
That's what most of my time doing is setting expectations differently.
But even for ourselves, it's hard because we want to get the damn thing done. I don't like to fail. He doesn't like to fail. We want to get it sold, not just to. We obviously want to take care of a client and get that done for them, but also we want to get the job done. So for me, like if it doesn't sell on the first weekend, then I start getting, okay, this isn't a little nerve-wracking, but that's okay. It may take a month.
I would say it. I mean, you make the adjustment and move on. I mean, at the end of the day, historically speaking, it takes a month to sell a house. It doesn't take a day. We get used to these the last 2 years. Before that, it wasn't that crazy, really. Yeah. It was like we get used to these ideas, but a month to sell a house is actually pretty good. It's pretty quick. It's just it's all setting the expectations. So, I spend a lot of my time talking people off the ledge because they're not used to this. You have to set the expectations with clients really well. And so I talk to my sellers to set the expectation, what to expect. Maybe you only get 3 or 4 showings in the first week, which is actually pretty good. I got a listing right now that we've gotten, I think, a showing every single day. And there was time you might get 10 showings in a day, but showing a day is pretty good right now. And you get feedback, you figure out where you are, you make sure the home shows well, you do marketing all the way. But then you need patience because this isn't even a market where you can just, unless you're willing to take a massive discount on price, you're not going to sell overnight. So you really have to have patience to get the price you want because there's just fewer buyers. When there's fewer buyers, it takes longer for a buyer to come to your house. Yeah. And for the last 2 years, we have far more buyers than we had sellers, and now we probably have more sellers. Actually, I think we still have more buyers than sellers. The issue is we have a lot of buyers that are not willing to pull the trigger right now. That's what it really is. So, it's weird that way. Like for instance, we'll have I got 2 offers over the weekend on listings, and both buyers were not even remotely I didn't know why they made the offer. The agent shot the offer over, was way low, which is fine. My client would have negotiated, but they didn't. They said, oh, we don't want to negotiate. We're not even they didn't even care. The agent didn't even try. In another offer, we basically accepted it, and they just never responded. I could never get a hold of the agent. The agent's like, I'll get back to you, and never responded. When the market, and this is not new, by the way, when the market shifts, buyers are very, very jittery about everything and non-committal. And I've seen it before.
It's been that way really. Actually, it's been that way really for 2 years. The difference is we have so many buyers that the jittery ones got overrun by the ones that actually follow through. But we've had flakiness.
Because you have to prove it. Because when you have multiple offers, you have to prove that you're serious and strong buyer. Now you only get one offer, you take the buyer. And that's why the builders, by the way, massive cancellations across the board. I get messages every day from builders of cancellations. And so I have to counsel my sellers on that too. The buyers right now are jittery. We only need one buyer to close. We'll get the buyer. Every house is going to sell. It's just you can't get discouraged when we have a buyer and the buyer doesn't follow through because it's going to happen a lot right now. On the buying side as an agent, I'm really counsel hard with my clients. I want to make sure you're serious about buying right now because if there are people out there that are just I don't understand the point of making an offer on a house if you're not intending to actually I can never understand why you would do that. And when the market's hot and you want to make 4 or 5 offers and try to get one of them, I get that. But right now, there's no reason to do that. So why write an offer if you're not interested in the house? I never understand that. My buyers are serious, and it's taking a little longer. It's funny. It's actually taking longer to get a buyer house to some degree because there's more options and they're thinking more. But we find the right house and a good deal, and buyers are good. So homes are selling, by the way. So that's one thing that realtors are the worst about this. By the way, they're very dramatic about things like, oh, I'm so slow. But you look at the MLS, homes are selling every single day. Hundreds of homes sell every day and closing every day. So people are buying homes. It's just a question if they're going to buy your house or if you're going to buy a house or not. That's really the only question.
I agree. What else do you want to talk about?
I don't know. We can talk about some travel. I know we got the list of topics that we could talk about, and we rejected all of them as not being interesting. But the one I thought was interesting was the euro is equal to the dollar for the first time in forever. I think the first time we went to Europe, it was equal to the dollar. I think it was 2002 or 2001, something like that. But yeah, it's the first time since.
I think I would backtrack a little bit on that and say before we get to that subject and say that. Short-term thinking is in my mind right now. Airlines, COVID hits, they lay everybody off, which is I don't understand the day why they did something so stupid. You lay off your skilled labor because you're terrified, and then a few months later, the travel surges and you have nobody, and they've never recovered. Look at this, it's a mess.
It's actually not true. They didn't lay everybody off. They got money not to lay people off. What they did do is they encouraged people to retire early en masse, and so. Yeah, massive numbers of people were retired early. That's what it was. They didn't really start laying people off. I think they ever laid people off because in the U.S. they didn't because of the government money they got. But with massive early retirements. Actually, not just that, by the way, they retired a bunch of planes too. Yeah. So they put a ton of planes that they were thinking we're going to retire in the next 5 years. Air travel's not going to return for 5 years. So they retired all these planes, which is why you're seeing a shortage of that. And all these pilots who they really need now, they all careers to retire early, and now try to get them back, and they don't want to come back. They're good.
It's really allegory for
Teachers too, by the way. It's a lot of people, a lot of industries where a lot of people retired early, and we need them now, and they're not coming back.
It's a good reminder of how fear can, in real estate and travel and business, fear can be a huge detriment. You have to think the long game. That's why I always follow Warren Buffett, because he's kind of a great thinker, but it's one thing. He's always thinking long term, and I think some people think short term. Airlines are the guiltiest of it. Look at them now. They're actually losing money. All the money they probably save by doing that, they're losing now because they have to cancel so many flights. They can't. How much money are they losing because they don't have the people to staff flights right now? They can't keep up with the demand. It's just, if they thought 2 years out and had more faith instead of just being so fearful, they would be fine.
In fairness, I think they did. I think everybody assumed that the travel would be down for many years, and which is kind of funny.
I didn't think that.
People just assume that, but when you look at the way people, human nature to a degree is to rebel, and especially Americans just rebel and travel like crazy. And yeah, it was basically down for like a year and a half, really, and that was it. It's stormed back. I mean, we're back. Vegas is certainly back.
It's funny though, when the COVID hit, I don't ever remember thinking to myself, the world's going to be, I actually thought it was short term. I'm not going to like stroke my ego, but I didn't think it would be long term. I know that's true because we opened a coffee shop, and I had to pay a shit ton of money to buy out my partner at the time, and I was like, oh, this is crazy. But then I just said, I think it'll be fine. I paid the money, even though at the time we probably shouldn't have, and everything worked out. I think I believed always that it was going to be shorter term than 5 years.
Travel is different though, because there's close quarters and
but people are,
and economy tanked, and I'm just saying I understand why they thought that way. I get it, I guess I would say I disagree with you only because I think it's easier. In hindsight, it's easier to say that.
No, it's not, because September 2020, my shop will be full of people. This is September 2020.
Not full of people though.
No point, but my point is, psychologically, if people are willing to crowd into a coffee shop in September 2020, they're willing to fly, and they were.
International travel is just now coming back, by the way. So that's
at like the levels it was.
That's the last thing that's come back.
At the levels it was.
It's just not coming back. I mean, Asia's still in an opening process.
But that's the thing. That now we're getting different subjects. International travel is weak to Asia because Asia is closed. If Asia was open, people would be traveling to Asia. Trust me. Yeah. That's the issue. People want to go. It's just
that's my point. It's a chicken egg argument there. That's my point. Yes, that's the world's closed. Anyway, the point is that I disagree with you on that. I'm not going to hit the airlines too hard for that. I'm going to hit them more because they were caught off guard by this summer, which I think was inexcusable. Like it was pretty obvious a long time ago that this was going to be a very strong summer for travel, and I just think they should not have. My problem is if you can't staff the flights, just don't fly the routes. Yeah. Which now you're seeing them do it. They're cutting a lot of these local.
Well, of course, because the government got on them. They're afraid of the
government stepping in. It's just bad PR. I mean, it's bad. Like look at the hit JetBlue took. I mean, it's a disaster. I mean, when people first thing someone thinks about your airline is that they're not going to get there on time. It's not a good for your brand.
What happened to you last week?
Well, yeah, the last 4 or 5 flights I've taken have been delayed. I mean, delayed. 2 straight flights had mechanical issues in the plane in Dallas, American Airlines, who I will say I've actually really have issues with. I mean, I actually think they do a pretty good job. And they paid them. They gave me compensation for a hotel and everything else overnight. But I was thinking, man, they had to compensate a whole plane full of people for hotels overnight. I mean, how much money are they losing on this? Wouldn't it be cheaper just not to fly the route if you don't have planes to fly correctly? Yeah. I mean,
I agree.
And then the next day, with the rescheduled flight, also had mechanical issues, and we had to wait for an hour and a half to take off. It's like. Yeah, it's a bit of but again, plane shortages, pilot shortages. There's shortages with the FAA, which is causing a lot of these delays too. There's all kinds of shortages, and nobody was prepared. That part I don't get. There's no excuse being unprepared. And you think it's bad here? Look at Europe. I mean, we talk about the euro. I mean, look at Europe. I was supposed to be in Europe next week, and I had to cancel because I'm too busy to go, and actually I'm okay with it because the travel in Europe is a disaster right now. I mean, the airports can't even function.
I sent you an article, this was a couple weeks ago, but in Schiphol, which is one of the busiest airlines in the world. Busiest.
It's Schiphol.
I call it Schiphol.
Amsterdam Airport, Schiphol.
I pronounce it Schiphol. The busiest airport in the
Beautiful
world.
airport, by the way.
I've never been there, but I know what it is.
It's not the busiest airport in the world, not even close. But
I said one of.
No, not one of either. But it's very, very big in Europe. Yeah, one of the biggest in Europe. I'll give you that. You don't can't be wrong. Look at me wrong.
Okay. Have you been to London?
Yes, many times.
Never. Heathrow is the busiest airport in the world. Did you agree with that?
Yes.
Yes, and I've been there many times, so I'm more educated about it.
Schiphol, I would say it's not, but go ahead.
I'm more educated than you are about Europe. I've been to more places in Europe, I think, than you probably.
Congratulations, though. I'm not.
My point is that I've never seen an article about Schiphol, and that there was 3-hour, 4-hour waits to get through security. Like you have to get there 4 or 5 hours early and wrap around.
It's been going on for weeks. Yeah.
But the irony is that by getting there early, you actually caused clogs and then it created more problems. People got there early, but they didn't get there early. They wouldn't get through security. So it was like a
shit show.
Yeah. The same thing happened in Toronto, I think it was, or somewhere in Canada. I want to say it's Toronto. Same problem. It was hours and hours waiting in security. It was awful. You see people camping outside. It's like for a concert. TSA pre-check. Hopefully that works clear.
Yeah, clear. I've been even clear out lately. That's for sure. Jeez.
If you don't have TSA pre-check, by the way, you're pretty stupid.
Global entry.
You're dumb.
Get global entry.
You're dumb. If you don't have that.
Yeah, you're dumb.
Out there
you're dumb. Get global entry. It includes pre-check. It's including the price. And the global entry is what you really have to have. If you leave the country for any reason, you need global entry. I feel so bad when I got off a plane, and I don't feel bad. Excuse me, I don't really care at all. But when I got off a plane and I go to global entry, and nowadays it's so easy. You don't have to even do anything. You just go up and put your
face in there,
scan through, and you're good. And the guy says, "Welcome to the U.S." And all these people waiting in long lines, and I was like, "Oh man."
I mean, it depends on where you like.
Poor folks.
I would say 70% of the time it's not a big deal, but the 30%, well, you're really happy. Like when I flew into Chicago from Frankfurt, that was 2 hours in the customs. I was just walked right through.
No, that's
good.
good.
Not doing that.
So anyway, the euro's even.
I don't wait in lines.
I don't either. Euro's even with the dollar, which means it's cheaper to fly to visit Europe than it has been in 20 years. Which is, if you've ever been to Europe, if you've never been to Europe, it's an expensive place, so it really comes in handy.
Extremely expensive.
If you want to take a last-minute trip to Europe,
Western Europe.
I can also tell you,
Europe might be a different story, but
I can also tell you August is going to be an expensive time to go to Europe, relatively speaking, for summer. Because I had a whole trip booked to Europe, and it was like 20-25% cheaper than it was in June.
Yeah.
So if you want to take a last-minute trip to Europe,
or just go in September, even better.
Message me if you need any travel advice on how to get there without going through Amsterdam Airport Schiphol, and we'll happily help you out there. Clients message me all the time for travel tips.
Yeah, never message Shawn about travel advice unless you want a 2-day lecture and a thesis. So best just not to ask.
Yeah, if you want wrong information, then message him.
Just Google it. Save yourself a little lecture. All right, good talk. I'm good, I think.
Send your questions, real estate, travel, Vegas, any questions you have, and we will address those in future podcasts. And thanks for tuning in.